Thank you, Zimbabwe, for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030, and my name is Wadzanai Manyore. Now, if you remember, the 30th of March 2022 marked the opening of the tobacco marketing season. We were here at the tobacco sales floor, and again today we are here where we are having various samples from our tobacco productions regions here in Zimbabwe. We have farmers who have managed to bring their samples through the various departments of the Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board or the various regional offices where they brought in their samples for adjudication. This is the time of the season whereby our farmers are rewarded for their toil and labor in the fields. We are going to be having various stakeholders in the industry, including the regulatory authority, the Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board. We have the Tobacco Research Board coming in here with their research aspect, and we also have the contractors, the merchants. We are also going to be helping in adjudicating and judging the various samples that have been presented today. Now, to discuss this and more, I am going to start the first segment with our anchor from the regulatory authority in the tobacco industry. Stay tuned. At this point in time, I've taken the liberty of inviting Yvonne Mupanda-Sekwa. She is a classifier at the Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board, and she's going to be taking us through the various nitty-gritties in the production systems of tobacco here in Zimbabwe. Yvonne, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Wadzanai, for the opportunity.
Yes, as we get into our discussion, Yvonne, today you are adjudicating the various samples of tobacco that have been conveyed to Harare from your various regional offices, whereby you are going to be looking at the best quality of tobacco that was produced during the 2021-2022 tobacco production season. What is the essence or the importance of having such programs for our farming community in Zimbabwe?
All right, thank you, Wadzanai. The importance of having such programs is that the awareness of the importance of quality in tobacco production is enhanced. Farmers get to know that they can get prizes for bringing tobacco that is of good quality, and that motivates them even for the upcoming season to improve on their quality of tobacco.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. The emphasis is on quality, because for a farmer to fetch a favorable market price, it has to do with how he handles his tobacco from the field, from the seed bed, to production, to the grading shed, to the curing facilities. Moving right along, Yvonne, I want us to talk about the determinants of quality. What are those aspects that you look at the leaf when you are going to be saying this is of good quality, this is of a higher quality, or this is bad quality?
Okay, there are quite a number of factors that affect the quality of tobacco, and I can talk about the agronomic practices that the farmer would have employed at their farm. So from the seedbed and site selection to the soil sampling, to the planting debt, to the curing, to the storage, to the handling of that tobacco at the farm, that contributes on the quality of the tobacco that that farmer is going to have in that particular season. So when we are classifying tobacco, we look at the percentage of damage or blemish or injury that is on the tobacco leaf, or the percentage of waste that would be on that tobacco leaf. So as a classifier, these are some of the things that we look for. And if the percentage blemish and injury and damage is of a higher degree, that means that that tobacco is not desirable to the people who will be buying the tobacco.
I want us to talk about activities in the grading shed. You would find that from the curing facilities, a farmer gets to the grading shed, there are various activities. What are those key fundamentals that you would want to highlight to our farming community to ensure that the tobacco leaf remains of good quality, it doesn't have risk of breakage or injury on it? And also, how do you avoid instances of mixed hand or slate or some of the of sponge that can be that can take place or that can be recognized in the grading shed? We have issues surrounding over conditioning. As a classifier, you do encounter those. What is your word of advice to our farming community? Those key fundamentals that our farming community have to take cognizance of to ensure that quality is maintained within the grading shed.
So when the farmer is now in the grading shed, they have to look at the overall color of the tobacco that they would have cured. They have to look at the length, they have to look at even the shape of the leaf.
Yes.
So when they are tying their hands and grading that tobacco, it must be homogeneous in terms of the plant length, the color, and even the shape, and even the reapings, the plant groups that the farmer would have cured of that tobacco leaf. They have to ensure that they do not over-condition their tobacco, because when they over-condition, when it is now then brought to the cell, that tobacco will be declared as rejected as wet tobacco, and that is not favorable for the farmer, as they would have to incur rehandling costs that come along with that. And when they are handling that tobacco, they should ensure that it does not break, because when it breaks, that is also causing them to lose out on their quality of the tobacco that they would have cured.
Yes, as you continue, Yvonne, I also left out scrap. We have instances whereby a farmer has good quality scrap, but in huge amounts that are not expected. Scrap is derived from leaves. Your sentiments on scrap and how you can avoid as a farmer to have huge amounts or quantities of scrap as compared to the leaves.
It comes to the handling of that tobacco in the grading shed. So if it is not handled properly, or the conditioning has been not done properly, it means that it will be prone to breaking, and that would then increase the amount of scrap that farmer would have from their tobacco they would have cured.
Finally, as we round off this segment, I want us to talk about the imperative role of arbitration. Can you maybe highlight the importance of arbitration? Why are those kind of personnel important when it comes to the marketing of tobacco?
Arbitration is of great importance, because the arbitrator is the personnel from TIMB who will be manning a cell, or who will be in charge of a cell. And when they are there, they are ensuring that there is orderly marketing. So they enforce the various regulations which should be enforced at any particular floor where tobacco is being sold. And when they are there will be order, because the arbitrator who is there is also involved in handling disputes. There can be disputes between the buyers and the farmers. There can be disputes maybe between the buyers and the floor where the buying is going on, and the arbitrator is there to ensure that all disputes are resolved amicably. And also, if it's at an auction floor, the arbitrator is involved in handling appeals. So they are there to determine that are these appeals genuine that the buying company would have made. So they are standing in between, representing the farmer and even those who have bought their tobacco, that really is the appeal genuine or not. And also when they are there, they are also involved in disseminating information to the various stakeholders who will be on that floor. They also ensure the starting times and the finishing times, everything is in accordance with how things should be going on that floor. And they also ensure that the tobacco that is being sold there, is it the one that should be sold on that day or the following day. So there are a number of activities that help achieve orderly marketing at any given floor, and the arbitrator is there to ensure that all that is being taken care of.
It was a pleasure having you with us today, Yvonne.
Thank you so much, Watsapp. It was a pleasure.
On that note, viewers, we have come to the end of the first segment of Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. We are going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions in support of Vision 2030. We are here in the second segment of your program, still at the tobacco sales floors, where we are looking at the various samples that have been conveyed to Harare by various farmers in various geographical locations of Zimbabwe, those that support tobacco production. Now, viewers, we are in the second segment. We encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with the producer, Wazanai Manyore, on 0772-807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wazanai. Leave your comments and suggestions on our YouTube channel. They are very important to us. It's Agribusiness Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also now available on Twitter, and our Twitter handle there is at Agribusiness110. Now, at this point in time, I've taken the liberty of inviting a tobacco research specialist, Dr. Kashangura. Dr. Kashangura, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Wadzanai.
Yes. As we get into our discussion earlier on, we're talking of quality and how you can maintain quality in production. I want us to talk about those aspects. We are during transplanting. You'd find that our farmers are getting into the transplanting period whereby they'll be taking their tobacco from the seed bed, the seedlings, into the field. Can you maybe take us through the various aspects on how you can maintain quality during transplanting? That transition is very important from the seed bed into the main field.
Thank you, Wadzanai. First of all, I would like to say that tobacco, it's like making a sculpture. When you're producing tobacco, it's like making a sculpture, which means every aspect is important, right from the day when the farmer is doing their land prep.
Yes.
The soil analysis, it is very important. They are starting to make their sculpture in terms of producing high quality, high yielding tobacco. Then you move into the choice of the variety. So when the farmer also chooses the variety, they're adding to that sculpture of tobacco production. And then we move again into the seedbed. So the seedbed, again, there are aspects that the farmer has to do so that, again, there is the high yield and high quality.
Okay.
From there, after the seedbed, we then move into the field. So in this regard, this time we are talking about transplanting. So our farmer, in terms of transplanting, they should pick, first of all, the uniform seedlings. So when they go through their seedbed, they should pick the uniform seedlings, and they should also see that the seedlings are pencil thick.
Okay.
First of all, they have to be pencil thick. If it is the float bed system, they have to pick seedlings that are at least 10 centimeters high.
Okay.
And then if it is the conventional seedbed, they have to pick seedlings that are at least 15 centimeters high. And then in terms of transplanting, 48 hours before transplanting, they should apply tridimenol, because tridimenol, it actually makes the seedling be resistant to Sawshin disease.
Okay.
Which when they transplant, if they have not applied the tridimenol, you then have the Sawshin coming in. So in this regard, our farmers, first of all, the key thing, pick uniform seedlings, pick seedlings that are of the same height in terms of the 10 centimeters, if it's float bed, 15 centimeters, if it is the conventional seed bed, and they are pencil thick.
Okay.
Then in terms of picking up the seedlings, they have to pick well-hardened seedlings.
Okay.
If they don't pick up well-hardened seedlings, when they transplant them, you find the harsh conditions outside will then result in those seedlings dying off.
Okay.
When they're also transplanting, if the seedlings are a bit tall, they should make sure they plant them deep into the planting hole, so that the seedlings actually, only the leaves are exposed at the surface.
Okay.
This then results in those seedlings not getting sun scorch, in terms of if they are too tall and then they don't plant them deep enough, it means they'll fall down, and when they fall down, then they'll experience sun scorch and you lose your seedlings.
Okay.
When you're also doing your planting, transplanting, you need a chemical that addresses things like cutworm. So for cutworm control, you need a chemical that then controls your cutworm, because soon after transplanting and cutworm comes in, it will then cut the seedling or eat the seedling at the base.
Yes.
And then those seedlings will just start falling off. Then in terms of the land prep, which we talked about, the land prep, they should have done it very well, because if the soil is compacted,
yes,
it means you can then start having your J-rooting coming in after you're transplanting the seedlings. So those are some of the tips that the farmers need to be aware of when they're doing their transplanting. Uniform seedlings, the benefit is that when you're managing the crop, you are going to have it grow uniformly, and when it grows uniformly, it means even when you are topping, you top at the same time.
Okay.
A large percentage of your field will be topped. Even when you are applying your sprays, the crop will be uniform. It means everything will be according to what the farmer is expecting.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kashangura. You would find that early September marks the beginning or the introduction of the tobacco production season for those farmers that can afford irrigation facilities, the irrigated crop. Your word of advice or the nitty-gritties that would want to highlight to our farming community, those that choose irrigation facilities to produce tobacco?
Yes, in terms of farmers that are doing an irrigated crop, the key thing is the choice of the variety, first of all.
Yes.
If they're doing a double cropping system, for example, they want to do an irrigated crop and they also want to do a rain-fed crop.
Yes.
Then it means they should get a variety that won't take too long, first of all, in the field. because it would then clash with their rain-fed crop.
Very true.
Which means at the end of the day, maybe they might have their bund capacity becoming overwhelmed.
Yes.
So the first thing is to first of all choose a variety that will not take too long in the field, so that it will get out of the field before you then also start harvesting the rain-fed crop.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Then in terms of the irrigation cycles, then they should make sure that they have their soil tested so that they know the type of soil that they have. And then in that regard, they also then know which millimeters to apply. There are standard millimeters that are applied, but the farmer must know the actual soil type they have and then actually match it to the amount of millimeters of irrigation that they need to do.
Thank you for that. As we round off, Dr. Kashangura, just your presence here standing next to me, being a tobacco research specialist, I know they want to know about varieties. Can you maybe talk us through the varieties in a snippet as we round off this segment?
Thank you, Wadzanai. In terms of the varieties that we offer as the Tobacco Research Board, we offer hybrid varieties. So hybrid varieties, the first thing, the advantage is they are uniform in terms of their characteristics, which means if they are given these same environmental conditions, you expect your crop to be uniform, you expect your crop to be high yielding, you expect your crop to be multiple disease resistant.
Okay.
So the current varieties we have at Kutsaga are varieties that have been bred for the different farming regions. So in terms of our tobacco districts, we have 3 main farming regions, which is the slow farming region, the cold areas, and then you have the medium farming region, which is the warmer areas, and the hotter areas like Karoi, for example, we have the fast-growing area. Okay. So that fast-growing area, it means varieties, all Kutsaga varieties, can be grown in a fast-growing area, except those that you may think that they produce thin leaves.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the thin leaf varieties are those that are KM10 based.
Okay.
Yeah. In the medium growing areas, we can grow all varieties again, which means all varieties can be grown. But in the slow growing areas, because it's a long season area,
yes,
it's cold areas, it means you avoid varieties that are slow growing. For example, your KRK 29, it is a very slow growing. So if you grow it in a slow growing area, it means you have lengthened the season. And if you have lengthened the season, it means maybe your tobacco will start ripening when the auction floors are about to close.
And unokwara ne sponge inoya
chando.
Yes.
So in that regard, our varieties are ideal for every farming district. What the farmer needs to do is just to consult our experts. They can then give them expert advice in terms of their choice of variety, which looks at also the cropping. Is he doing a double cropping, irrigated and rain-fed, or is just doing a rain-fed crop, or is just doing an irrigated crop? They also look at the soil characteristics. Is it a heavy soil or it is a light soil? And then they also look at the disease pressure that farmer is having. So then they can select and advise the farmer the actual variety that is ideal for them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kashangura. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you.
There you heard it, viewers. We're talking to Dr. Kashangura here, a research specialist who was enlightening us on tobacco production, given that the early September, 1st of September, marks the irrigated crop introduction into the soil from the seed bed to the main field. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the third and final segment. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers. We are in the third and final segment of your program, Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, where we are witnessing the adjudication of tobacco samples that have been brought to Harare by various farmers in Zimbabwe who produce tobacco. Now, earlier on, I was joined with a classifier, a senior classifier, those that classify our tobacco when it comes to the flows. I was later on joined by the researchers who are responsible from the earlier stages of our value chain of the tobacco production, where we start from research to production, marketing, processing, and consumption. I would like to highlight that at this point in time, I am joined by Mr. Albert Kamunda. He is a farmer representative in these competitions. You would find that we do have an aspect of the merchants, the contractors. We also have the regulatory authority, also have the researchers, and now I am joined by those that represent the farmers. Mr. Albert Kamunda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Azanai.
Yes.
Welcome.
As we get into our discussion, Mr. Kamunda, I want us to talk about the relationship between the farming community, Varimi Vefojka, and the regulatory authority, and also the merchants or the contractors, those that are responsible for funding the activities in tobacco production. What is the relationship like? Is it mutual? Is it beneficial to both sides? Is it a win-win situation? Or you do have some sentiments where you'd want to highlight things you wish can be changed or improved within that relationship?
Thank you, Azanai, for such a question. Actually, looking at the tobacco production in this country, it's got a history dating back to around the year 2000 when the land reform took place. Actually, the relationship soon after the land reform took place, the relationship had been so it has been so smooth and so beneficial to both parties, that is the regulator, the contractors, and the farmers. But it was only, I think, during the years around 2008 to 2010 there, when there was much sprouting of the so-called contractors, when the relationship began to take a turn against the farmer. And the farmers started to no longer trust the regulatory, since the regulatory was said to be sidelining with those contractors who were coming on board. And actually, I think the sprouting of those contractors actually indicates that they could actually notice that there was something in the tobacco growers that they to stampede and rush for, which was actually to rip the farmers off. And then the farmers, again, they've got a challenge with those contractors in that the contractors are not supporting the farmer fully. If we look back at some years back, those contractors who were contracting farmers could actually even give the farmers some living allowances, school fees allowances,
holiday allowances,
basing on the tobacco that is in the field. And these contractors of today, you can rarely find one who can even offer you the capital, the money for fees. Yes, the money for fees, even the labor, capital for labor, they are not even giving the farmers. So this relationship is soundly turned nasty as of now due to this sprouting of the tobacco contractors.
I would still want to talk about our production systems, and mainly looking at the farming community, the tobacco producers. You would find that there is an issue of side marketing. Every year, every now and again, we hear our merchants and even the regulatory authority issuing statements on how side marketing is a danger and an ill in the tobacco industry. Can you maybe highlight what usually pushes a farmer to say, I'm going to side market my crop? And how can it be stopped to ensure that our farming community is prohibited from entering into such crimes?
You are very right there on that one, Wadzanai. Side marketing has been arrived due to two reasons as of now. One, there is this reason of insufficient support from the contractors.
Yes.
The contractors, at times, you find the contractors just coming in maybe with a field package or a seedbed package, but without financing the farmer fully so that they will be able to produce the required crop at the required yield at the right time. That is, the farmers are being shortchanged by the contractors, whereas they have signed the contract already that they are producing for such a contractor. That is reason number one, shortchanging of farmers during the production course. And then there is number two, there has been within the contractors themselves, and then even the auction floors. The farmers have been approached by some of the workers, the personnel workers from those contractors. Whilst the tobacco is in the fields, they've been approached by those workers, inciting them to sell the tobacco to them or to their others, to some other guys aligned to them. Yes, they will be actually knowing that we have contracted such farmer in that area. They will come with one other guy from their side who will buy that tobacco and then report to the company, to the contractor, that the farmers are outside marketing. But it's actually those workers that are actually inciting the farmers. That's my experience in working with the farmers. Anyway.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamunda. Finally, the morale. Mweyaeva no tobacco industry Paris no yakamira say. Are farmers excited kwenda kumunda? Varukutotere we are going to increase hectarage, or the morale is dampened. they have maybe encountered some challenges. Generally, what are the trends? Are farmers looking to increase acreage? Are they maintaining? Are they looking to downsize? Are there alternatives saying maybe this year I'm not producing tobacco, I'm maybe focusing just on maize, or I'm getting into horticulture? Your sentiments?
When the tobacco selling season kicked off, farmers were well overwhelmed by the prices being offered, and then the US dollar component that were they being offered by the Reserve Bank on their sales. But then as we moved with as the tobacco selling season progressed and the prices of the inputs, fertilizer prices started to change, then farmers, all the morale was lost. Okay. Because farmers had actually indicated that they were getting quite some huge proceeds from their sales that would enable them to go back to the fields, since some of them were no longer wanting to be contracted as of now. So they are now going back to the fields with the inputs prices escalating, with the labor prices escalating as well, and I can see no morale in the farmers as of now. Okay. They are just going as that's the basics for growing tobacco that they are used to. No longer happy to grow tobacco and no longer viable for the farmers. Okay. As we hear from them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamunda, for your sentiments and your views in our farming community, tobacco farming community, to be specific. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you, Adzanai.
Thank you. With me here is an example of a sample on how it's packaged and sent to the Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board for adjudications, those that are responsible for adjudicating and judging the tobacco samples. I'm holding a sample from a grower, written 133957 from Mashonaland Central. I should say it is very quality tobacco, good quality. It is a leaf. Let me show you a hand. This is what the producer produced, and he managed to package some samples for adjudication in case he might have angawane manza yakanaka akawana mubairo. There you heard it, viewers. From me, a host for Zanai Manyore. I'm also on Instagram. It's a W Manyore, and the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.